Welcome to a beautiful Tuesday on Crypt. Oh my God, we got 115K Bitcoin. I like what I'm seeing. Maybe we actually do manifest that gold go up, Bitcoin go up thing. I don't know. What I want to talk about today is just the relentless adoption of blockchain by traditional finance. We are doing the flippening. The banks cannot help but to join us. Let's dive right in. Bam. Look, when you've been here for a while, you can bitch and moan about Web3 wallets and new sign-ons. I mean, they do have their hiccups, but you eventually get used to signing transactions and sending transactions on blockchain, and then you go back to the legacy system, and you just got to scratch your head like, what the hell? There's office hours. I got to sign checks. There's $25 wire fees. Like, it just doesn't make sense, and it smells weird and it sounds weird when you're at a branch itself. Now, that being said, I used to walk by a Western Union every day. I lived near one, and people would be lining up on the 1st and 15th, and they'd be taking out advanced cash, or they'd be sending money across the world to their families, and like, lo and behold, 10% of their little paychecks would be captured. It was absolutely wild. And of course, Western Union, an American legacy, started out as like a postal service and morphed into this giant economic powerhouse. But now Western Union, just like anyone who's in the money transmission business, plans to launch its own stablecoin in 2026. And who's surprised? They would take, again, 10% from a user to move money from one country to another. I mean, you know who doesn't give a shit about borders, about time zones, about operating hours? Blockchain. And not only does it do it smoothly and permissionlessly, but it does it for cheap. We have reduced the fees. Obviously, the L2s on Base, Solana itself is so cheap. And now we're getting these stablecoin payments networks that are going to move capital for like 0.0001 cents. Something so nominal, it's ridiculous. Not only that, but they're using smart contracts and intelligent digital money to find new and novel ways to get yield. This is simply going to kick any bank account's ass. And Western Union, having made their bread and butter on the movement of money, is signaling the obvious. I said it once and I'll say it again. If moving money is your business, you should be shaking in your boots. There is simply no way to resist this change. You need to be in the stablecoin game. Now, moving on, in the same vein, we have the announcement of ARK. ARK public testnet is live. And here you see Jeremy Allaire, CEO of Circle, and he is talking about the ARK blockchain. Circle's answer to Tempo, to Plasma. This is their blockchain for stablecoins. And look, it says now open to developers and enterprises globally. ARK is an economic operating system for the internet that unites programmable money and on-chain innovation with real-world economic activity. So look, I've always talked about how the pay to tap at that final point of sales is one of the key missing pieces in crypto, and obviously it is going to be here. So this is Circle, a publicly traded US company and the originators of the USDC stablecoin asset, and they're talking about, look, using stablecoins as native gas, deterministic sub-second finality. For so long, it's taken up to 2 days to settle a transaction. Think of the products that you can build when you don't need to wait 2 days for that little check mark that says transaction complete. Docs, RPCs, block explorers, obviously global payments, technology, fintech ecosystem includes AWS, Brex, Athena, Kareem, Cloudflare. I mean, you can tell that they're prepping themselves for the computational load side of this. Banks, asset managers, and insurance. Bank Frick, BlackRock, never heard of them. Clearbank, Deutsche Bank, Emirates, HSBC, Goldman Sachs. Again, small names, right? They're already built into the crypto world with DEXs, Curve Finance, Stroma Labs, Aerodrome. This is a signal to Coinbase. And let's remember, they are part and parcel with Coinbase because Coinbase actually receives a lot of the revenue that comes from the USDC play. On sexes, they've got Bybit, so they're hitting big in Asia. Coinbase here, Hashkey Global, that opens them up to Hong Kong and potentially in the future mainland China. Kraken and Robinhood app, no small feat. And of course, institutional custodians like BitGo, digital wallets like Fireblocks, like MetaMask, like Ledger, like Rainbow, developer tools, yada, 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 and so on and so forth. What we can see is that the stablecoin play is no holds barred. We've seen Tempo come out with the full force of merchant distribution under Stripe. We're seeing Plasma coming out with the partnership and power of Tether. And let's remember, Tether is unfortunately being predominantly traded on Tron. They don't want that, so Plasma is their answer to Tron. Either way, we are getting global payments for cheap any time of the day, 24/7, 365. This is coming. And of course, as we look at traditional finance moving into the blockchain world, we see this announcement today from Carlos Domingo, the CEO of Securitize, that they have filed to go public in NASDAQ via a merger with Cantor Equity Partners 2, led by Brandon Lutnick, Howard Lutnick's son, at a $1.25 billion valuation. Now, why is this big? Securitize is behind the BlackRock BUIDL fund. What they do is they work with institutional partners to take something like a massive fund under BlackRock, take that entire ledger of activity and put it on chain. Sure, when you look at this initially, it's like, well, okay, this is like traditional finance. These are big players. These are the rich, right? Well, how does this benefit retail? And then Athena comes in, and Athena is able to tap into the yield being generated by this traditional finance tool and share that with any USDE holder. This is one of the greatest use cases that you can provide to retail, a simple way to save, because in this inflationary environment, these bank accounts, these savings accounts, these checking accounts, they're not offering anything good in yield format. And 12% that you're getting with Athena is truly just out of this world. Of course, they're mixing the BUIDL fund's yield with their delta neutral hedge fund play. But I mean, lo and behold, this is amazing. So look, Securitize is coming out saying we raised a public investment private equity fund of $225 million with the SPAC trust of $244 million, brings us to total proceeds of $469 million being raised. Assuming that there's no redemptions, they're going to have a lot of money to continue to grow. If they grow, more real world assets come on chain and take advantage of this. And again, what blockchain does really well is it takes stagnant money and it turns it into money in motion. It is excellent at allowing what would be otherwise immobilized assets, and it allows for lending and borrowing against them. This is how we expand capital. This is how we take the world and truly put it on chain. So pretty cool read, and props to anybody going public. But what's also fun to see is while Securitize is pulling those real world assets from the real world into the digital sphere, into this metaverse that we're building, you can see that Securitize is also representing this new wave of IPOing these Web3 companies onto the traditional markets. It's just pretty cool to see this door going both ways. Now, we further continue in this TradFi can't ignore blockchain conversation with this announcement. Japan's $2 trillion payment provider TIS rolls out multi-token platform with Avalanche. I love the Avalanche team. I've worked with them for many years. I think they're great. They're doing an amazing job focusing on RWAs. And what this comes down to is they have these things called subnets, which allows anyone to take advantage of Avalanche's fully built out and fleshed out infrastructure. It allows you to create your own token that can be used to secure the validators, to be used as payment for gas, but you can take advantage of the broader Avalanche ecosystem. Any subnet is interoperable with any other subnet with all of Avalanche, which is interoperable with the EVM, the Ethereum virtual machine. So what this comes down to is TIS powers half of Japan's credit card transactions and processes over 300 trillion yen. That's roughly $2 trillion annually through its Paycierge payment system. The multi-token platform brings this scale to blockchain rails, turning decades of traditional payment systems into programmable financial infrastructure. That's a whole lot of money. That's a lot of the credit card transactions happening. And again, when we take away the credit card processors' reliance on their own internal hardware, we can lower that 2 to 3% perma fee that we've built into digital payments across society. And we can lower this to near zero because blockchains simply are not that expensive. So this is pretty exciting. Obviously, Japan has been an economic powerhouse. They're in a little bit of a funk right now. So this is a great time for them to experiment with cost-saving tools and new technologies. So hot damn are the worlds of institutional and traditional finance and digital finance colliding every day. Now, last but not least, and this is something that we're probably just going to see be one domino in the rally of many, is breaking. Citibank and Coinbase offer crypto services. Citigroup will use Coinbase to enable digital asset payments for corporate clients, a major Wall Street shift towards blockchain adoption. And again, how can they ignore this? You can settle major deals for pennies. You can move money any time of the day, instantly, easily, with verifiable and totally complete finality. I mean, look, these systems are just modern versus a legacy system that predates the computer. When you think about it this way, when you just think about the internetization of finance, it becomes very simple and it's going to be irresistible. In a world where they used to say, hey, we'll take $1 for you and we'll store it or we'll move it and we will charge you a fee for that. I mean, these blockchains are automating the whole process. They're eliminating entire verticals of what used to be licensed boring old dudes that now are going to be shit out of luck because the great ledger in the sky does not need them to facilitate a trusted transaction. We can do it through smart contracts, and we no longer need to trust because we can verify. So look, it's exciting. Everything is growing in leaps and bounds. I sign on every day and I find story after story about how the world is evolving to become more digital, to host more of our daily lives on the internet in one way or another, whether that be the souls that we speak to through AI or the way that we manage our money through blockchain. We'll experience more through smart glasses, through haptic gloves that'll let us feel things on the internet, that will let robots feel things in the real world, because that's fundamental to actually being able to touch and handle things without destroying them. So all of this is an exciting shift. It keeps me going, and hopefully I'm condensing it in a nice solid nugget for you to snack on every day, because guys, when you sign on and you watch me and you give me a like or a sub, I mean, it does mean everything to me. So as always, don't over lever, stay safe, and I'll see you tomorrow.